What's up, guys? So, today I wanted to talk about an article that was forwarded to me by one of my subs. Mr. Mike sent me a link to this article that talks about esports and you know what motorsports games is heading towards and stuff like that. So, we're gonna go through the article together, and I'm gonna just I guess give you my thoughts on it. So. NASCAR drivers, teams invest in NASCAR Heat and iRacing. Parker Kligerman is known in the NASCAR world for being a part-time racer, pit reporter for NASCAR on NBC. His dedication to iRacing and online racing simulator. Okay, so yeah, we know Parker Kligerman. He's into iRacing. There's a lot of NASCAR drivers that do partake in iRacing. So. Because it's a simulator, and it's I could see that if you love racing, and that's going to appeal to you. If you're a real racer on your off time, if you're not in a real car, you're going to want to do that. Sim racing has been a part of my life for as long as real racing. Okay, realistic simulator is so popular now that 300,000 people on average tune in to watch the NASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing series on various platforms. 20 race championship battle is seeing a significant uptick this year, and there's a $300,000 check on the line. Remember, this is iRacing. Okay? Kligerman, one of many NASCAR drivers to invest in the series, recruiting young, talented sim racers who can actually transfer their skills over to real-life race cars. Additionally, iRacing is becoming a platform for part-time racers to work with potential sponsors that can work with them in the NASCAR Cup Series or Xfinity Series. This is what's always confused me, this link between recruiting people to join into these teams on iRacing and then how that's connected to real racing. That is a real thing. I'm not really sure how that works, but esports, as much as I have been, I don't know if against it is the word to use, but in terms of the NASCAR Heat games and video games, the reason I've always opposed that focus on getting involved in esports has only been because I feel that if you have limited resources, it's going to take away from the offline part of the game, which is still immensely important. The career mode and all the other things that come along with offline stuff. And I don't want these games to become purely focused on online racing, because to me, that's your bread and butter. That is really where video games on consoles, that's their strength, that they're delivering something you cannot get on a platform like iRacing. iRacing is great for what it does, but it's not a game. It's not going to deliver a career mode. It's not going to give you presentation. It's not going to give you that immersion of being involved in things off the track, like owning a team or, being involved with sponsorship. All of these things that are a major part of what a proper sports game on a console delivers. You're not going to get that in iRacing, and you're not supposed to, right? So I'm not complaining. I'm just pointing out the differences. I think that now that I've spent some time on iRacing and I'm getting into it, I am enjoying it. But I'm going to be pointing out some negatives that I think the PC gaming community and the iRacing community, they haven't really gone out of their way to point these things out. I just feel like when it comes to the PC gaming community and the console gaming community, like the PC gamers, not everybody, right? So I'm not generalizing everyone, but for a large part of the people, the PC gaming community has always looked down on consoles and video games on consoles. They look at it as an inferior product. And in some ways they're right. Yes, on PCs you're going to get the ultimate in performance. And you're going to get much more in terms of options and the ability to do things with games that you just can't really do on a console. Consoles are streamlined. They're meant for more casual gamers or people that just want to get down to business. So there is a difference and there is an advantage, right? However, I do think that there's a lot of advantages that come with consoles. And I just think it's almost like apples and oranges. It's really not fair to compare the two things. And when it comes to iRacing in particular, I've noticed if you look around for information, if you watch people's videos on YouTube or hear people talk about this stuff in other platforms, it's always heavily leaning in a positive direction. They rarely really dig into the real negatives. So there isn't a lot of negative stuff that you're going to find out there. And it just seems to me like the PC gaming community, they like to brag about all the great stuff, and they just kind of sweep aside the negatives. So I'm only pointing that out to say that just the one major difference between a console, like we're talking about NASCAR, right? So a console NASCAR game and a simulator like iRacing is clearly, you're not going to get any of this immersive and stuff that you get in a console. It's not meant to do that. It's just a simulator for racing online. That's it. And even though they have added AI, which is great, you can run full races with AI. But even still, you're not getting career mode. You're not getting presentation. You're not getting all of these extra things off track. It's just still about what happens on track. So that's the thing that really I want to point out, because there's a lot of people out there who've always said, go to iRacing. You'll never want to look back. That's not true. iRacing's just not going to give you those things that you get in a video game. That's why there's always going to be a place for a NASCAR video game on a console. It delivers things that you're not going to see. You're not going to see this in iRacing. Okay? So that's a big negative. And a lot of times I am enjoying iRacing. Okay? I don't want people to think that I'm bashing it. I'm not. I actually am enjoying it. I'm glad I joined. And I'm looking forward to getting deeper and deeper into it. Also, I'm only scratching the surface. I'm just learning how to navigate through this thing. And as you guys have noticed with the limited videos I've done, I'm not really good at this. So I never claimed to be. Some people out there might say, hey, this guy really sucks. Or how does he not know this or that? Listen, man, I'm not that good at this. So I'm okay with that. I never claimed to be. I'm trying to enjoy it as I go. And there are times I'm a little frustrated. There are times where I feel like I'm a little in over my head. And even when I'm racing around rookies, they're just running better than me. So it's a humbling experience, right? When you play on the console stuff, it's just different. So that being said, I'm just pointing out those differences. Also, another huge difference, and this is another thing that I'm not saying nobody talks about it, but you really don't hear a lot of this. The expense of iRacing is big. I knew that going in, but I didn't realize how big of a difference it was, because you come in, and like I said in my other video, you get a certain amount of tracks and cars, and a lot of this stuff is not really tailored to what you're looking for. Let's say, like me, you want to get into the NASCAR side of stuff. You're going to have to buy all these extra tracks, all the cars. It adds up. And even when I've gone through all that. I've spent over $500 at this point, including, the subscription for 2 years, all that stuff. That alone is a lot of money. But another thing I'm noticing, every time I turn around, there's something else to buy. I got a D license now, and I'm trying to move up into C. And I noticed that as you move up, other series, other cars, other tracks become available. And early on, there's just a limited amount of races you can join. I'm talking about official races that count towards your rating, like your safety rating and your performance rating. You can join all types of races, but they're unofficial races. But you still gotta, buy the tracks and cars. But I noticed now that as you move up and more of these official races become available, official series, you gotta buy that too. And now there are other races, like there's this, I don't know if it's called RUF, R-U-F, cool looking series. I am interested in doing more road racing and racing street cars and GT style racing. I like that. Like the one style of racing that I've just never really gravitated to is open wheel, like IndyCar or Formula One, things like that. I've tried it. I've done it in like Project Cars and other types of things. I just don't really care for that style of racing, but I'm gonna try it anyway. But that being said, there's another series that opened up. It's also stock cars. So if you're into the NASCAR thing and you want to move up in licenses, I think it's a national series, or I forgot what it's called. But it's like an older type of stock car. There is ARCA. I had to buy ARCA, and I had to buy another track for that. Okay? And as you move up and more tracks become and more series become available, I'm going to have to buy that too. I could imagine if you just want to have access to everything that iRacing has to offer, you're going to spend well over $1,000, I think. That's serious money. And remember, you're paying a subscription on top of that. So I'm not trying to tell people, hey, stay away from iRacing. I'm just telling people, be aware that there's a lot of money in iRacing. And to me, it's for people that really, really want to do this. If you're a casual fan, you want to kind of stick, I think, with these video games on console. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. The problem is that when it comes to console games like these Heat games, if you want to be in esports and you want to be in this Pro League stuff, it's just not good enough. The performance is atrocious. There's lag, there's glitches, there's just too many problems. And if you're going to have these super competitive leagues for people, I don't know how they do this. They're paying out some serious money. And how do you do that? I've heard from other people that races have been ruined because of bad connections or all kinds of stuff. I think if you're going to do it that seriously, they have a long way to go. They got to get the online performance way, way higher. I don't really take esports seriously in these NASCAR console games. I just don't think they're capable. Now, I'm going to say some positive stuff. I don't want people to think that, hey, I'm just dead set against all this. I've accepted it. Esports is not going anywhere. This is a big, big part of motorsports games plans. That's all there is to it. And I'm not big on just swimming against the tide and fighting about something that's not going to go away. Esports is here to stay, and I've accepted that. Okay? So in accepting that, now I'm going to try to look at some positives. Okay? But before I get to that, let me go further in this thing. So realistic simulator, blah, 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 blah. $300,000, but this is for iRacing. Kligerman. Okay. Sponsors investing to have their logos feature on virtual cars, and drivers also create digital content to go along with the series. Landon Castle was competing at Xfinity before coronavirus. Is working with Blue Emu in the virtual world throughout Fox Sports 1's iRacing coverage, Nascar iRacing Invitational. All right. Yeah, I don't want to read everything. These guys are owners. Like, you got Jeff Burton and Kligerman. They have an esports partnership. Team owners in esports league like this have more visibility than the league itself. Okay. So, yeah, listen, man. They have people getting involved in esports. NASCAR people and other racing leagues. Formula One people and other leagues all over the world. Esports is here to stay. They're taking it serious because there's real advertising dollars in it, and sponsors really, sponsors, they don't really care where they go. If it's exposure for them and they feel like they're getting their money's worth, I'm not surprised that they're investing money in esports. And I have to say, I understand why Motorsports Games is invested. Okay? It's not that I don't get it. I just don't think right now with NASCAR Heat 5, that thing is just not a viable alternative for Pro League stuff if you take it really that serious. But people are playing, people are in it, so I just think they have a long way to go. But there's some positive stuff that I, just from my viewpoint, that I'll talk about in a second. All right, I don't want to read everything. I'm trying to... NASCAR Heat Pro League. $70,000 on the line. Serious racing going down. This league is different from the iRacing one because it consists of drivers who are actually working with NASCAR Cup teams. In iRacing, the field boasts drivers who compete like Burton Kligerman, Danny Hamlin Racing, Dillon Esports, and Richmond Raceway. And even Richmond, okay. Esports is one of them. All right, these people are involved, so it's nothing to sneeze at. There must be a viable business model behind it. Between NASCAR E5 and iRacing, the sport is reaching out to a younger audience, blah, blah, blah. NASCAR Heat Pro League. The championship included 3 races broadcast via multiple platforms. Facebook, Motorsport TV, Twitch, and eNASCAR.com. Okay, I really don't know how many people follow this. I'm sure there's an audience, but I've also heard from other people that it's also a mess. I don't know. I don't follow it. Any evening full of content creation, blah, 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 blah. Alright. Alright, this thing's frozen now. Sorry. Come on. Okay. Whatever. Let me just get to the stuff that I consider a possible. Alright, come on. Possibly positive news, right? Accepting and knowing that esports is not going anywhere. It's going to be a major part of this franchise of console games going forward. I remember speaking to the president, Steve Hood of Motorsport Games. I told you guys back the beginning of the year, and I discussed these things with him, and I told him how I was really concerned that they would just be focused on online stuff and just forget about career mode and that stuff. He assured me that that was not the case. They are making big money investment, and that they are focused. They're looking to all this stuff. I'm not going to rehash all that. I've talked about it before. So, I believe in giving people a fair chance, and I have to take them at their word until they show me that I can't believe them. So, recently we talked about they're looking at IndyCar to get into that. There's that British Touring Car Championship game that's coming out in the future. They are doing multiple things, and I have to believe that these people, they're much smarter than I am. They know what in terms of business and what they're doing. Who knows better than they do, right? So they have investment money and they have a business plan. So if at this stage they feel confident enough to spread out and do all this, I have to believe that maybe they know what they're doing. At least until they show me otherwise, I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt. So, how can this be a good thing for console games? Well, they're starting from scratch, rebuilding the game from the ground up, and they're using a whole new game engine. What game engine? We don't know. Okay? Not yet, at least. But they have to build this next game with online racing in mind. And if you're taking esports this seriously, I would hope, I have to assume, that they realize that they have to build a much better game from the ground up. The blueprint of this next game has to be rock solid. I'm expecting better graphics. With these next-gen consoles especially, it gives you much more room to improve, because now the difference between PC gaming and consoles is going to be much closer. These next-gen consoles are no joke. They're going to be very powerful and capable of a lot of things, which is great because now it raises the bar. It raises the bar on the console side of games, where now it benefits the PC side of things, because now they're going to get much better games as well. So, Motorsport Games has to build this game with a solid foundation, a solid blueprint, better graphics, better sound, and better physics. Okay? Where you could kind of get away with the physics now in these NASCAR Heat games, they're good enough for an arcade style game. But if you are hoping to seriously contend in the esports market, the one place they have to make a big leap is physics. You can't have a game with arcadey physics that are limited and be a serious contender in online racing. Okay? People aren't going to take it seriously, and even right now, a lot of people who know this is what they're saying, and it's just, this thing is not ready for what they're doing right now. They're still doing it, they're going ahead with it, but they really do need to build this next game at a much higher performance level and a higher quality, so that everything runs smoother. Because you're trying to come into a market that's already established. iRacing's been around for years. They have a big head start, plus online racing simulation is what they do. I'm not saying that Motorsports Games has to build a console simulator. That's not what I'm saying. However, they do have to create a much better physics engine. Otherwise, it's not going to take off to where they want it to go. So, the opportunity they have here is that iRacing, like I talked about, is extremely expensive. So, what market can they go after? Well, obviously, the casual gamer who doesn't want to spend hundreds and hundreds of dollars to join iRacing. And because, they're casual gamers and they kind of want to be able to just jump in once in a while and whatever. You need to give them a viable option. And to me, there is room for that when it comes to a video game on a console. So what I think Motorsports Games is trying to do is carve out their own little corner in the market for NASCAR games to be involved in online racing in a more serious level on esports. So there's only one way you're going to be able to do that. You have to create a better product that actually runs better online. You can't have these glitchy, lag-infested lobbies and all of the problems that we have with online racing on these NASCAR Heat titles. You got to fix that. You got to improve that. So that's number one. Excuse me. The other thing is, man, I lost my train of thought. What was I going to say? Yeah, you got to improve everything on the console side. So that's good news, I think. I would be shocked if we didn't get a much more improved and advanced overall game. And they already confirmed that, yeah, career mode, all that stuff, they told me it's going to be something that it's going to be just as important to them. Now, could this turn out to be a lie or maybe not the case? Sure. But I think we owe it to these guys to see what they can do. We don't know who they're hiring. They're hiring a lot of new people, and hopefully they're capable. And for these next-gen consoles, they really do have to step up from what we were getting from Monster Games and 704, and I'm expecting them to do that. So I'm not expecting a full-blown simulator like on iRacing level, but you can drastically improve the physics engine and the handling and all that stuff to another level, right? So let's say iRacing's a 10 out of 10, right? That's the standard for physics. And right now, I would say a NASCAR Heat game is maybe a 4 or a 5, right? It's arcadey. And there's nothing wrong with that, because it's still fun. The racing can be fun, all that stuff. But I would like to see them bump it up to maybe a 7 out of 10. Okay? Doesn't have to be a full iRacing type of physics type of engine, but you got to step up. So I think that would be a huge plus for console gamers like myself. And if that drives them to really work hard and make a much better overall game, that could be a positive thing. So I'm trying to look at this as a glass half full situation. And that is a way that I think this could benefit people. Esports is not going away. The online racing is it's a reality. That's all. Complaining about it and they're not going to just stop focusing on that. At least if that means it's going to benefit the offline stuff as well, right? With a much more advanced physics engine and everything, I think that could be a win for people like me who want that career mode and that offline content, because then they can officially carve out a market. You know, you buy this game, and okay, there's DLC and stuff like that, but you can literally get everything the game has to offer just by buying the game. $60 or $70, whatever these games are going to cost for next gen. It's a one-time purchase, right? Whereas iRacing is extremely expensive and it's a subscription. So now you have a chance to grab people who are more casual and still want to get involved in this pro league stuff. And that's the opportunity that Motorsports Games has. But you have to create a fully fleshed out, all around product. So now people say, I buy this game, I got career mode, I got presentation, I can hire drivers, I could be an owner. I'm going to get all the bells and whistles that come with an arcade type console game, but I'm also going to have a much better physics engine I'm going to be able to play online without all these lags and bubbles and all these glitches that we have. And I could probably dip my toe in the water of esports and this pro league stuff. And maybe if I try it and it's a smoother experience, maybe I'll like it. So, looking at it from a positive point of view, I think it might benefit the offline stuff. Because you have to create an overall better product if you really want to be serious about esports and this pro league stuff, which they clearly do. So I have to assume that they're getting all their shit together and they're going to deliver a better product. Now, I get it. I've seen a lot of people say, oh, the first game is the first game. Don't expect too much. I get it. I'm not expecting like Formula 1 2020 the first time out. However, I want to see a fully rounded game. I don't want big things missing basic features. And deliver the basics. And I'll be with you. I'll be there and I'll support the next game. But I don't want a game that's like NASCAR Heat Evolution. You can't do that again. And if you come out and that's your first game, you're in big trouble. And from the looks of it, this game, I haven't seen anything concrete, but I have a feeling they're pushing for a 2021 release date. I can't say what they're capable of. I don't even know how many people they've hired for the 704 team to work on this game. Who knows? If they hired enough people and they're pouring enough money into it, maybe they can get it out in 2021 and it's a decent game. Maybe. Personally, I'd feel more secure if they took another year and just really worked on it. But I don't think that's going to happen. I think they're going to push it out as soon as they can. We'll have to wait and see. So for now, this is pretty much, this isn't huge news. We already know they're involved in esports, but it's an article. And there are, these NASCAR drivers and teams investing in esports. Well, wherever sponsors go, I could see why they're going there. There is money in it, at least from a business standpoint. I could see why advertisers and sponsors would come to esports if there's people there. Any place they can highlight their products, it's worth it to them. So I could see why they're investing. And I don't want people to think that I'm sold on esports. I'm not. I couldn't care less about esports. That has not changed. But I'm trying to see how can this benefit the rest of the game, the offline stuff. And it's possible. I'm not saying it's gonna happen, but it makes sense to me. These guys are gonna have to create a much better product. Physics, graphics, sound has to take a huge leap. And with these next gen consoles, yeah, I'm expecting more. These next gen consoles are no joke. They are powerful and they are comparable to, I would say, mid to high range PCs. Now, I'm not talking about the ultra PCs, super high end stuff, $5,000, $6,000 computers. However, pretty high end PCs, they're going to be sort of comparable. Much better frame rates, much better graphics, lighting, ray tracing. There's so much these consoles have to offer. I want these guys to take full advantage, and they're going to have to. They're going to have to. You can't be running this Pro League shit on the way it is now. So, those are pretty much my thoughts overall on the esports and what these guys are doing, investing, and the differences between iRacing and consoles. These NASCAR games on consoles. I think that there's always going to be a place for console games. And I have not given up on a NASCAR console game. I think there's people that think, oh, now he's into iRacing, he's never going back. Not true. Nothing could be further from the truth, because I realize, being involved in iRacing, it's not just the money, but there is no career mode. There is no immersion of an offline career and running your own team, dealing with sponsors, all the bells and whistles that come with a console arcade type of game. You don't get that in iRacing, and you're not meant to, right? So I'm not complaining. I'm just saying I still have that need. I want to jump on and have that arcade experience of, yeah, I'm going to have that immersive career mode stuff, presentation, pre-race, post-race, commentary, all the bells and whistles you get with typical sports titles on consoles. I still want that. So iRacing's great to just the exercise of actually racing, fantastic. But I still want that whether you want to call it arcade or not, there's always going to be that need for a game, a video game. Because video games deliver something that simulators don't. And that's why there's room for both. And I want to do both. So, I don't know what else to say. Those are pretty much my thoughts. There isn't a lot more news than that. If there's any more news concerning motorsport games, any NASCAR video game development news, I'll definitely talk about it. I want to thank Mr. Mike for sending me the link to this article. And you guys are really cool. You guys always keep me up to date. A lot of times I don't even know about something unless one of you guys tell me, hey, look, there's an article or there's a video here. Did you see this on Twitter? And then I'll go check it out. You guys know I don't even spend time on Twitter. I don't know how many times I've tweeted in the entire time I've been on Twitter. Not more than a handful. So a lot of times I get my information from you guys. So thank you. I look forward to your comments. Later.